This is 20 Minutes Live. Welcome to you from India and across the world. I am Ninad Karpe, partner at 100x.vc. Today on 20 Minutes Live, we have R Mukundan. Mukundan is the managing director and CEO of Tata Chemicals Ltd, an engineer from IIT Roorkee, an engineer from He joined the Tata Administrative Services in 1990 after completion of MBA from FMS, Delhi. He's also alumnus of the Harvard Business School. During his 30 years career with Tata Group, he has held various responsibilities across the chemical, automotive, and hospitality sectors of the group. During his 30 years career with Tata Group, he has held various responsibilities across the chemical, automotive, and hospitality sectors of the group. Our format is simple, unique, and crisp. Mukund will speak for 10 minutes, and you will have a round of Q&A for 10 minutes. If you have questions, don't wait. Go to the comments column and put it. Over to you, Mukund.
Thank you, Ninad, and thank you to all the listeners for tuning in. And I hope all of you are safe and sound wherever you're joined in from. And I thought I'll talk to you today about three issues. One is, we are going through the biggest disruption of our lifetime. And what do we need to do to cope with disruption? This has always fascinated me, and I have spoken about this at business schools, with the employees, but I think I'll sort of take a minute or two on that. Then I'm going to speak about what we have done as a company, and lastly, coming back to this issue which we are all worried about or hoping for, what will be the shape of the recovery. The first point which I wanted to say is that how do we cope with disruption? Do they really matter? But if you follow the three principles which I'm going to highlight, they really may not matter to anyone, and companies can cope and human beings can cope with this very well. And I would invite you to watch a YouTube video of a series called Into the Storm. Into the Storm. This is done by Channel News Asia. And there are three videos, each one maybe as long as 2 minutes. You get a 2-minute version. You also get a 10-minute version. One video of Lego toys, one video of Nintendo, and one video of Fujifilm. So I usually use this. But the lessons coming out of this series is threefold. Into the Storm, as the series is called, how to handle disruption. The first principle is to face reality. I think as long as we, company, individuals, organizations face reality, they will come out on the other side well. And real issue is, even when there's a tsunami on a company or an individual, you usually do not face reality with speed. We don't accept the reality as it exists. I think facing reality is the first lesson. In fact, if you watch the video of the Lego toys, you'll learn that very, very quickly. The second principle is listen and learn. Organizations, individuals who listen and learn, who take feedback, who are very clear about self-disclosure and learn to improve, and think of that as a roadmap to improve, usually come out with flying colors. And here the big issues are to pick up weak signals and prepare well. And the weak signals usually come from stakeholders who are not in the room, stakeholders who cannot give you the feedback. These are from young employees, small customers, distant distributors, distant suppliers. These are the people who give you those weak signals. Listening to them, learning from them, and preparing well prepares you to cope with disruptions. The video of Nintendo, which I spoke about, really is a lesson in listening and learning. Lastly, I think what is most important is what is your purpose and what are the values which matter to you? Purpose is about why do we exist, and values about how you will do what you intend to do. I think those two things matter a lot. And the Fujifilm video is very, very instructive about this basic point about companies and organizations which are purpose-led, which have values deeply ingrained in them, do a lot more. I don't just want to say Tatas do that well, but I think many organizations do that well, and Tatas have always felt that purpose is the very, very important thing. And our purpose, Tata Group's purpose, has been to improve quality of life. It's as simple as that. As far as the values are concerned, we believe fundamentally that our values are leadership with trust. We need to lead, but it should be in a way that people trust us. This is really the three principles. So going back to face reality, listen and learn, purpose and values matter. That's the first principle of how do you cope with disruption. Second is, what have we done? As a company, when this was on us, we realized that we needed to think broadly. We need to think ecosystem and think all stakeholders. We cannot come out of this pandemic alone. We have to come together as an ecosystem. Second thing we did was we pivoted to digital very well. And I think this, I must credit all the employees. We never knew the depth of digital pivoting which employees could do. We are still working from home, and that has really, really been a big lesson, how swiftly employees can learn and switch to digital overnight. This pandemic was not part of a risk register. We never knew this risk exists, but when it came, I think employees did well. The third element of this was also about employee well-being. We really focused on employee well-being as one of the key issues. We have a tracker every day, which we track everybody's status. And if somebody is sick, we actually track it more intensely now. And if somebody is undergoing treatment, we do that too. And in all this 3 to 4 months, we've had most employees coping with this well, and we've had about 50 odd infections, but they've been handled well. We had an unfortunate, untimely passing away of an employee, but that was only one case. We hope it doesn't go beyond this, and we are keeping a good track of this around the world, not just in India. The third element is asset care. You saw incidents like what happened in Visakhapatnam. You need to take care of your assets during this time, and damage can come because employees are not there in full strength. Asset care and asset operations. The other element, which was about external linkages, think through raw materials, think through putting warehouses closer to customer, training your trucks and truck drivers, think of logistics. We actually switched to a lot more rake movement, rake loading, railway loading, because railways were functioning. The fourth one is going to be about finances. Cash is an emperor. We drew down all credit lines. We put credit watch of all customers. We deferred capex which are not being started, and actually accelerated capex which were already underway at double speed. We cut fixed costs, but we cut it very equitably so that no one stakeholder was bearing the burden of that entire load on them. Lastly, community matters. We've been giving dry rations, we've been giving disinfectants, sanitizers. We actually set up a 100-bed hospital in our school as a part of the community support. So this is something we've done during this period well. Now, people do ask me, what is the shape of the recovery? I think there are many shapes. In my view, there are many shapes, a sharp V, a W, L, U, all these shapes are there. But I want to categorize them as markets which are rising up. So rural agri-input market, for example, we have seen 6% growth. Urban essential market has seen 10% growth. We supply things like salt and bicarbonate to urban market. We supply agri-inputs and the seeds to rural market. These two have seen growth. Urban discretionary is close to an L, as much as 40 to 50% demand destruction. So products which go into auto sector, products which go into real estate sector indirectly are all being impacted. The discretionary, as I said, is about, so urban essential is 10% growth. There is a product which are rising up, products which are falling. So the way we classify businesses in three broad buckets. One is businesses which are safe. There is essentials and rural. These are very much safe businesses. Their demand will not go down. Even if it goes down, it's going to recover fast. Then there are businesses which need support but will recover. They are challenged businesses, as I call them. The challenged businesses are like housing, personal transport. These will come back over a period of time. And then there are businesses which are changed. These are not challenged. The business model itself may be changed. For example, restaurants, hotels, airlines. these businesses will have to look at a different business model. Restaurants, for example, for a long time will have to look at how do they serve, how do they have seating, how do they remain profitable. All these issues will be on them. So we have actually categorized our businesses in these three buckets and are really looking at our customers, and we are seeing all patterns. Some businesses have been stable, some are in sort of deep demand erosion, which they will climb out of slowly, and some with deep demand erosion, they will climb in a different way. And we are working with our customers, we are working with our own business model in terms of how to pivot most of our businesses to where demand is not challenged, so that we can continue to be a stable business in the long run. So this is really what I wanted to say, which is this: how do you face disruptions? What have we done? And is recovery, is what is the shape of recovery? Thank you, Nitin.
Thank you, Mukund. You covered a lot of area as was expected. I will jump straight into questions. There's a question from Siddharth Agarwal. He's asking about startups. What do you think startups should do? Startup founders, what's your advice to startup founders? Should they innovate, pivot, or look at survival?
So again, as I said, there's no one solution. Depends on the state of your market. If it is a market which is supplying into essentials, if it is supplying into rural, if it is supplying into urban essential, you should actually accelerate, because here is a market where I think your demand is not going to feel a disruption. But if it is where the business model is challenged, I think you need to reflect and change your business model. So clearly, it depends on which business you're in, but certainly most startups are in digital space, digital delivery. I think they all would need to sort of, they can quickly change their model. So really, these are my lessons. I don't think I can prescribe specific answer, but depends on the business.
So Subha Bangera has a very interesting question. He's saying we have now learned, because of the pandemic, to learn to live with less production, less spending, less entertainment. How do you think we will move from here to a recovery economy?
I think again, when you say less, you are certainly not having less of what your daily requirement of food is. You're certainly not having less of your entertainment. The form of entertainment may have changed. You may be getting it on Netflix today. You are not doing less work today, but you may be working from home. So I think this concept of less in terms of spending, as I said, if it's a discretionary spend, people have put off those spending because they are not sure of their income. But I think very soon, as this incomes level stabilize, as the economy normalizes, I think some of these things will come back. But which product comes back really depends upon the customer demand at that point in time.
So our good friend Mudit Jain has made a very interesting comment. You may or may not want to comment on it. He's saying, as a proud Indian, I would like to outsource the government of India to the Tatas.
No, I have no comments on that. I think Indian government, let me also tell you, during this period, one thing I just want to say is that Indian government has been very, very purposeful during this gap. And I just don't want to say this because of, because we are on the air. Indian Railways, for example, have been very helpful to us, because it would take about 7 days to reach Guwahati from Gujarat. We have had rakes reaching Guwahati in 2 days and 3 days. Transportation was faster. Basically, government has been very responsive during this period. I've not met them physically face to face, but I've had many video conferences, and I think every part of the government has responded with speed. And I also want to salute them, because many of them have worked really hard during this period, because they've had many pressures. So we must appreciate that we've done a very good job in terms of coping with it. And I would not want to say that I think it is best that we support them as private sector in whatever endeavors they do. And they've been very much in the listening and learning mode.
So Altaf Darji is asked, should businesses be prepared for business as usual post-COVID, or should we start at looking, will things return to normal, is what his question is, in terms of the way we are doing business?
Things will return to new normal. It's not going to be back to where we are. For example, we formed a small team on, whether work from home is permanent or not permanent. But I think it's becoming clear we need some office space, but we don't need the office space we had. We know that some employees can work from home, but all employees cannot work only from home. So I think it's going to be a bit of a hybrid as we move forward. And where do you fall in that hybrid depends on what you're looking at. So it is going to be a new normal. We all have to get prepared for it as we move forward. And where do you fall in that hybrid depends on what you're looking at. So it is going to be a new normal. We all are.
So Tirth Nagwekar is from Goa. He's fairly active in CIA. He's made two, three comments. So I want to take it up. He's saying finances have dried up. How do MSMEs survive? Do you have
So I
any
think
thoughts around that?
it's very important. I think these MSMEs have to go back to their key customers and meet them, because I think lot of us think very differently. I'm sure large groups like us, there are many in India who would be thinking in ecosystem terms. We know that we cannot survive alone. We need the MSMEs in our pipeline. So we have been, in fact, extending support. One of the first things we did was we said we should make the payments to MSMEs on the spot. It should not even wait for that, credit period, and it should be timely. So we are monitoring it. And whatever advances, if somebody has approached, I think we have been very helpful in this process. So I think you need to go back to your principal customers and work with them to come out of this pandemic.
Priyanka has got two questions. One is a very broad question, but I would urge you to make it, quick, short response because we have a lot more questions. How do you lead your people in such uncertain times? That's question number one. Question number two is specific to your company. Tata Chemicals is known for their sustainability standards. How do you continue to maintain such high standards in such tough times?
So number one, I think you have to lead with compassion. You have to be very understanding. Everybody is coping through this crisis, a very difficult time. So if someone is not able to come on time, someone has some, you have a video conference which doesn't work, or something has gotten late, you need to give them a lot more room at this point of time than what you would normally expect. And I think we have to recognize employees are fundamentally, they need support, they need communication, they need reassurance. We have reassured everyone nobody's job is at stake. We have actually said everybody's salary is frozen, but it's not going to drop. It's going to be same. So we have given that assurance to people, but we are in a slightly different position. Not all companies would be there, which is why I said equitably, if you have to take a cut, everybody should take, and senior people should take a higher cut. That's the normal principle. In terms of sustainability, I think one of the things which was a question, as we come out of this pandemic, will be the same normal. In fact, the new normal is going to be more sustainable. The new normal is going to be more inclusive. So we are going to get into a new normal, which we need to focus on the very forces which were on us. The new normal is going to be more inclusive. So we are going to get into a new normal.
So Sriram Singh is asked a question specific to the chemical industry, saying that because of what is happening now, will imports from some neighboring countries stop, and will it lead to more production in India of some chemicals?
So I think the point about resilience is very important. This is a question of resilience. I think all companies are looking at it. Even before this incident anyway, the dependence on one source was a big problem. And I think China was one big source in chemical sector, especially in intermediates. So chemical sector already was working to indigenize many of these elements, but that has accelerated now. And it will accelerate. There is no doubt in my mind that the future is not going to be single source. Future is going to be, I'd say, at least two sources. And future also is going to be closer home, regional, more regional rather than global. I'd say at least two sources.
I'll take one or two questions. Surinder is asking about battery plan for cars. Are chemical companies pivoting to making battery at all?
No, some of us who are interested in that business are going to invest. Our company certainly is interested in that field, but we started with something which is already off the ground, which is battery recycling. But otherwise, we are waiting for the customer demand to come back in, and also government policies to be announced. But there are many big players who are interested in it.
So while I wind it up, Mudit has again said, I salute Tata. So he's again a follow-up comment. But Mukund, I've had you as a panelist, and it's always great fun to moderate your discussion. I don't do it without some rapid fire. And for your session, I've made specially. I've
Okay.
been doing 20 minutes live from April. I haven't subjected any guest to rapid fire. I'm going to subject you to that. And then we'll have probably just one or two comments. Okay. So here I go. You know the rules. You have to respond within 2 seconds. So here's question, rapid fire question number one. If you have two options, which one will you select? 30% pay cut for CEO or fire five mid-level managers?
I think first option any day.
30% cut. Okay, great. Post COVID, how will you operate? Work from home or work from office?
I think we are going to work from anywhere. That's our
Work
thought.
from anywhere. Okay, you're taking option number three. What will you do now? Chase revenue numbers, sales numbers, or chase cash collections?
So I think it's a good question. Revenue is important, but I think this has shown the greater importance of cash. I think we need to be cash focused all the time.
Okay, cash is more important. So you have limited time as a CEO, Mukund, all of us know. In today's time, where will you spend majority of the time if you're given options of only two people to meet, customers or employees?
So I think you've chosen the two most important people. Customers are the reason we exist, and employees are the reasons why we serve those customers. So both are very critical. And I think fundamentally, I come a point of view, if you don't have good set of employees, you can't serve your customers well. I would love to spend more time with customers, but then if you say that you only choose one, uh, if you have a good set of employees, they will spend time with customers and tell me what to do.
So what are there are two options for, suppose you're given two options for employees, fire some people or send them on furlough. What will you prefer?
We would certainly not do this. The first one, we have always done the second one, which is to say that everybody takes equitable cut, or some people take a leave and then they come back, which is what furlough is, I think.
What will you tell a fresh graduate, let's say MBA graduate, join a global company or chase her or his dream of a startup?
Any day, chase your dream.
Chase your dream startup. Great. And last two now, Mukund, you have been doing great, very well. You have some free time in the evening. Would you like prefer to watch Game of Thrones or read a book on Elon Musk?
So actually, I would say, I've discovered during this pandemic, the most comforting thing is to go to kitchen and cook food. I've just realized it's a shocking experience. I didn't know this before, but cooking food is one of the most calming experiences one can have. So, but certainly, I think between the two, read a book.
Read a book. And if you had a chance to meet one of these two people, whom would you meet? Satya Nadella or Byju's, Mr. Byju of Byju's? Byju's is the biggest, largest edtech company in the world now.
For me, both are very, very excellent people to meet. I would want to learn from them, but Satya certainly is impacting the entire world. So I think to understand the scale of his thinking, it will be well worth to understand what is in his mind and what his priorities are.
Do you want to put some closing comments before we wind it down totally? Some words of
Yeah.
advice to entrepreneurs, business leaders in these tough times?
I think my only advice would be, I think first take care of your health. I just simply say that if you're not taking care of your health and your immediate team's health, I think we will not come out of this pandemic well. So we ignore our own personal health at our own peril at times. And after you take care of your health and your employees' health, I think the health of the business is very important. But in that, I think don't be afraid to take decisions and look forward to this pandemic with hope. And uh, and imagine a new future for yourself, because I think as we come out of the other side, those who come out will be on a much stronger footing. And I wish everyone all the very best as we navigate this biggest disruption of our century.
Thank you, Mukund. There you are, viewers, leading from from the front, R Mukundan of Tata Chemicals. Thank you, Mukundan, for joining us today. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in today to 20 Minutes Live. Remember, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Thank you, Mukund.
Thank you.